Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. In this episode, we will be talking with James SayWhatSales Buckley. So hashtag SayWhatSales for him, of course. This episode is going to be called Selling Right 451, like Fahrenheit 451, right? So super fun. Anyway, we're going to delve deep into James's mind in how he learned how to sell the way that he does, his personal skills that he has with speaking with people, communicating, and so on, as well as how he built his personal brand, because really the SayWhatSales brand is quite incredible, very attractive, and it really resonates with the right crowd. So it's very impressive. Anyway,
Thank you.
I'm your host, Rob Durley. I am a co-founder, co-CEO at White Rabbit Intel. And James, please take it away. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, what's poppin', Rob? Thanks for having me on the show, man. I'm a big fan of what you guys do. Jake, my man Jake from White Rabbit was the first person that reached out to me to connect and have a good conversation. I remember it being a really healthy one because I kind of critiqued his approach right off the bat. And he was like so gracious with me, like, yo, this is helpful. Thank you. And that was a really rare response. As we all know, like most people are really not open to learning from others. And that is like one of the things that SayWhatSales is known for is like, dude, I don't know shit compared to a lot of people out there. So it's been really great on the journey. SayWhatSales has really taken off and I really appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.
What I'd like to know is, how did you enter the sales industry? What was the birth of James SayWhatSales Buckley?
Yeah, so I want to like Tarantino this. I'm going to start with like where I'm at, and then I'm going to pull it back to where it all started. So right now I work for an amazing gentleman by the name of John Barrows. And if you're in sales, you've probably heard his name. JB Sales Training is the name of the company. And what we do is train sales reps to be essentially more human, relevant, timely in their process. There's no silver bullets in this game. And there are a lot of experience that we've all had collectively that we deliver to people. So literally the dream job, like going out and teaching other people how to be a human being in their sales process. So all through 2019, I was in data governance. I worked for an incredible company out of Long Island, New York, called Ringlead, and they did lead routing and data enrichment and info capture from LinkedIn. So like pulling people's information and then being able to push that over to your CRM. And this was like my first foray to something other than what I was doing for the past 4 years before 2019. So from 2015 to 2018, all through 2018, I worked at Cirrus Insight, which was a really popular Salesforce and inbox integration tool for Gmail, Outlook, and Office 365. And prior to 2015, so just so you guys know, prior to 2015, I graduated from college as a non-traditional student in 2014. And before that, I was a drug addict and a cook for 15 years. So there it is. That is like
thing, right?
Tarantino of it all.
For sure. Yeah, emphasis on human in sales, because my God, people need to be more human. You're not a machine. Salespeople aren't machines. People don't like to buy from machines. People buy from people that they like, trust, can relate to, and it's all about the rapport, as James absolutely is. Just from my conversations and experiences with him, he's like one of the most awesome dudes ever. And I'm not just saying that. I'm saying that in the sense where, like, you feel like your day's better after having a conversation with him.
Yeah,
so
super awesome to hear you say that, man. I really appreciate that. It means a lot coming from you.
Oh, well, no. Oh, why? Because I'm a hard ass?
No, because entrepreneurs are historically noted to be hard-nosed and not human and robotic. And all of the entrepreneurs I surround myself with, yourself included, they are human beings first. Yeah, and that's what I want to be around. I've said it before. I think I've said it to you. I know I've said it to Jake. Like, this business, the business of success, sales or otherwise, has this ability to put us on this fence where on one side of it, we are reaching down to people that want to be where we are and helping them up onto the fence. And then on this side, the opposite side, we're reaching up to the people that are where we want to be. And that fence, I've been riding that fence for 5 years, and I've been so amazingly blessed to be on that fence for as long as I have. And I just keep trying to share this mentality with young people, old people. I don't just people, like, wake up, people. Like, we're all responsible for our own success.
That's right. And that is 100% true. I mean, positivity is key. Your mindset is 100% all the way the reason why you will succeed or not succeed. The way I look at it, there are two truths in this world. There's I can and I can't. They're both true synonymously, but the one that you believe is the one that is the truth for you. So if you believe you can and you will. If you believe you can't, you won't, and you never will until you believe that you can, right?
I like that, man. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I might feel that in a
rules I live by.
conversation.
It's the rules I live by. It's true. It's true. So what I want to know from you is, how did you build the brand? Hashtag SayWhatSales. Like, what happened? How did you do that? That's incredible.
Yeah. So, you know, one of those things, have you ever had like an idea in your mind that you think is great, but you're really unsure of yourself? I think a lot of people have had that experience where like you teeter-totter on this thing for a long time and it becomes something totally different than what you originally imagined. So here's how it went down. Obviously I've built an entire course on building your personal brand. It is available for your listeners out there. ondemand.jbarrows.com if you want to check out the personal branding course. But essentially what happened when I came up with SayWhatSales, like specifically SayWhatSales, it didn't start off that way. I didn't plan it all out. What happened was I just started putting like daily videos out there, 1, 2, 3 minutes, telling people stuff that worked for me and stuff that didn't. At the time, I was an SDR, brand new in the space, right? And I was going to all of these events, just traveling around the world, going to all these Salesforce events, all the Dreamin' events, Dreamforce in California every year, all the Snowforce, the Higher Ed Summit in Texas and Austin. Shout out the Big Bang Bar on 5th. That's like one of my spots, or 6th, I think. I don't remember. Imagine that. But imagine you're this person that had this life that was very limited, and people all around you were saying like, oh, you'll never amount to much, right? Like, because the choices that you were making at that time were just not the greatest for you. And then you go to college and you get this degree that says you know how to learn something. And suddenly everything you've ever wanted opens up to you. Like, understand that all through college, my wife and I made $15,000 annually together as a group, as a couple. And we made it. We were on food stamp. We were on welfare. We were on government support. Our kids were going to local schools. Like, man, we were like going to the kitchens and like getting boxes of food from churches. Like, that's where we were sometimes. You know, it was the way of the world for us. And then my wife puts me in college. And I'm like angry about it. I'm like, I can't believe you did this. Looking back at that now, you're like, wow, I was so stupid back then, right? But then you get this degree and everything changes. Once that happens, you start thinking about your value differently. So I started creating these videos. I'm doing them at these shows, but I don't have like a normal routine. And then it hits me, like, I really should put a name on this. And it wasn't long after I started doing these videos that my friend Zach Metters and I had this joke that we did where like, hey, what if we were just honest with salespeople that we were reaching out to sell this to? And we were like, hey man, we could do this dance for like 8 months where I reach out every other day, or you can give me 10 minutes like this week sometime and we can figure this out together. What do you say? So I put it out there on LinkedIn as a joke. At the time I had like 1,000 people that followed me. It was like very minimal, you know? It went bananas. Like overnight, it was like 218,000 views. I had people like that direct messaged me the next day that were like, I've been the genuine recipient of this like 6 times in the last 24 hours. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I had to put a comment out there that was like, this is just a joke, you guys. I was just kidding. But I had to put a name on it. And I needed it to be something that resonated with a huge community. And SayWhatSales was like throwback to like the 90s and 80s. Say what was like a big thing.
That's true. Say what? That's why I love it so much.
People yell it out at me now. Like, I think that like bringing that throwback phrase into something positive and then attaching it to sales and be like, what do you say? How do you say it? Why would you say it? Like, dude, I say ridiculous things to people. The stuff I say sometimes, I'm like, why would I say that's crazy? Why would I say that? But it makes sense. And people use the stuff that I do and they say like crazy things to stand out. And before you know it, they're actual human beings, and they're people just like the other individuals they're reaching out to, and relationships can get built. And say, what? Like, is that a thing? Yes, it is. I swear to God, people are people.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I'm a huge advocate for that. Just doing ridiculous things that make you stand out and make you seem human. It's just, I mean, personally, I love doing accents. I do tons and tons of different types of accents. It's so much fun. My latest is probably the Donald Trump, the this is absolutely tremendous. Like that type of thing. Sounds just like him. It's perfect. Finally nailed it. But anyway, enough about Trump, right? Or elections or politics. Screw all that. Anyway, you answered like 90% of my questions that I had for you right there. That like was the entire immersive story behind how that all became what it was, which is really incredible. You're a good storyteller. You're a really good storyteller.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I think so too. And I think storytelling is a part of sales that's dying. Like, can we all please be better at talking and engaging with people? Like, work on that. Stand in your mirror for 20 minutes a day and talk to yourself and feel your body language. And if you feel good about it, you're doing a great job. But if you feel kind of like, I'm rubbing myself the wrong way, imagine how your prospects feel.
That's true. Or record yourself telling a story, then listen to it. And then if you feel like you sound terrible or arrogant or something, yeah, you probably do.
Yeah. You know, I think that's why sales is evolving into this edutainment kind of, that's like the phrase that we've been sort of throwing around a little bit in smaller circles. But, you know, this concept of content that informs and aids in growth, both professionally and personally, and like, where is that taking us and how are people growing? We find that a lot of people end up in jobs they didn't even want. So many college kids that come out of school, 24 years old, got a degree in kinesiology or sports medicine or writing or history. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to teach? No, I don't want to teach. Oh, these people end up selling stuff. You know, there's no education. I think there's like 20 programs nationwide right now where people can like major in sales. I talked to a kid the other day, UHC, I think is where he's at. And he is minoring in sales. So he's doing a whole presentation for his sales professor, which I thought was really cool to hear that phrase, right? That's pretty awesome. So there's like this whole conversation that's happening behind the curtain. Like nobody's even like throwing it out there. So I don't know, maybe I'm like throwing some people under the rug here. Who knows?
I mean, really, sales is a psychological science. It's the study of people, and it's the study of what gets people to want to do things that have inherent risk. How to talk somebody into something, not even talk them into it, but help them take a journey through an idea so that they can adopt the idea, so that it can become a part of the reality.
Right? Like I noticed right there that you immediately were like talking somebody into, wait, no, that's not what I wanted to say. Our language has to shift. We've got to get our young people to start learning the love languages of the others that they speak with. Because their ability to have intelligent, meaningful, long conversations is dwindling faster and faster as they age. I got 4 teenagers. 2 of them never talk to me, and the other 2 are only like wanting things, and it's very like short. And I have to like shut the Wi-Fi off to get them to like come out and eat dinner. Like this is
the art of conversation is dead, and the old school selling tactics are becoming more and more effective. Because what you see, I work in automation, right? But it's automating the things that should be automated. It's numeric, or it could be some sort of form of analytics or processing, predictions, all that good stuff. That's what I do. Except I'm a huge advocate for do not automate the sales process. The things that we've automated, just because you have higher efficiency does not mean it's effective. You can have the highest efficiency in the world and your effectiveness is absolute zero. It's garbage. It's nothing. You could be getting so much work done, but nothing is actually happening. Where are the results? The effectiveness is the results. And this high rate and large scale selling tactics, adding to the noise of the market, isn't actually helping anyone. It's hurting everybody, and it's making people actually fear the word salesperson. Which is the problem. A salesperson is not someone who should be selling you, creating noise in your life. It's somebody who's helping you understand and buy something that you need. And it's a people connector, really.
Well, so this is where and I've said this to so many people. So right now, like my number one focus is getting in front of frontline reps, right? Like that's my whole focus is like, I want to talk to the person that manages you, but I also want to talk directly to you. Right? Let's do whatever it is that you're struggling with, right? That right there is huge for me because if I can affect the front lines and change their perspective and get them talking like human beings again, I feel like I've done their prospects a favor.
Yeah.
And that right there is really something. It'll change everything about the way the company kind of molds them and helps them grow. But I default to something John said to me. My boss, John Barrows, said, my boss, my colleague, my peer, he tells me all the time, like, we're the same. We are equals. We're a very flat company. I didn't hire you to tell you what to do all the time.
As it should be.
Like, I won't do that, is what he said, right? Like, what a great, like, oh, I was like, who are you? This is weird.
Managing up is important. If it's always managed down, things are not going to happen effectively. It should be the people below the people managing those individuals that should be managing up. And if they're managing up, that's ensuring that the manager is, or the director is, staying on task. And that's more important because they have so much going on. Everybody is then capable. And when management needs to go down, it will trickle down from the top because the manager is on point. So everybody else will be on point as well. It goes both ways.
No, man. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think that I see that in John and the team here. Like, we all communicate really well internally, which I think is crazy because when you come from a company I was like the 15th employee at Cirrus Insight. By the time I left, like 4 years later, there were 72 of them. And we were spread out between Irvine, California, and Knoxville, Tennessee. I know, Knoxville, Tennessee, selling software like crazy. But it was one of those situations where the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing sometimes. And that was just because communication was difficult between coasts and between teams. And the more you grow, the harder it is to keep everybody doing what matters. They start doing other things. But if you are good at saying, hey, we trust you to do what is right, and we trust you to hit your number, and we trust you to do the things that make sense, that enable you to hit your number. In fact, we're going to help you do those things. Now you're talking about an alliance between marketing and sales that has been one of the most challenging things to dial in the history of business, dating back to the—
It's been separated for so long. Same thing with that looming separation of technology and business. Oh yeah, we have the IT guy. If you don't have the expertise to use the platform or the technology that you're using at a software level, where you cannot set it up or reset it or fix it, there's a serious problem. There should be no need for somebody to just walk in and go, oh yeah, did you turn it off and turn it on again? You know.
So I worked in IT. I was at the University of Miami. I was a network specialist. Really, what it was a person that would hop on the calls with somebody that could not print, and they would say, I can't print. And I would ask them several questions. Like, no kidding, it was this dry. It was like, do you have paper in your printer? Yes. Is there power to the printer? Yes.
Did you plug it in is my favorite.
Do you have toner? Yes. Is it plugged in? Yes. Now, believe it or not, a lot of times that series of questions would solve the problem.
And a lot of the time, right? They won't tell you, like, is it plugged in? They'll plug it in and then say, oh yeah, of course it was.
They're like, yep, nope. And you end up having to go out anyway to look at it. But dealing with those types of problems, man, like, you really see it from the support perspective. And because you see it from the support perspective for like 6 years, you then turn around and you see it from the sales perspective, and you see how the sales perspective impacts the support perspective. Because if I make a lousy sale to a customer that doesn't like the product, need the product, understand the product, feel the product, is willing to put the time in to adopt the product, what I get is a support problem. That's what you've closed on. You've closed on a problem for your support team.
Yep, you've closed on a very expensive investment for the company as well.
Yeah. So let me tell you what John said. And this is why I feel like this is where salespeople tend to like drop the ball. And, you know, by all means, challenge me. Like, I am not the end all be all. So, but he said to me, it's not our job as sales professionals to convince people that they need what we have. It's our job to sell what we have to the people that need it.
It's about diagnosing the issue. It's not about outlining pain points or telling someone they need something. It's about diagnosing the issue. And if your salve is the thing that will help fix what they have, that's what they need. If they don't need it, to disqualify them, because in the end, it's going to be a liability. And in the end, you did the wrong thing for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, John will tell you that he and Morgan and Meg probably as well. I mean, they're all three of them are really good at just disqualifying people way more. People come to us all the time and they say, "We really want training." And John and Morgan and Meg, they're like, "Why?" And they're like, "We really like your content." No. Why do you want training? Like most of the time they'll come to us and say, "We really want to see our KPIs improve." They'll say, "All right, well, let's take a look at your KPIs." And they don't know what their KPIs are. Like it's a strange thing. But when you think about the human aspect of what it is to hack people, manage a team of people, and really like you have to let them do their thing. You can't micromanage them. At least I don't think you can. There's a lot of micromanagers out there. Hey, if you're a micromanager out there, no offense to you, right?
Or offense to you.
Or offense to you. Yeah. I mean, if you want the offense, I'm fine with that too. So there's this breakdown that's happening between employee and employer, where it's like the employer is held to the results and they're held accountable by the board or the VPs for those results. So they whip the dogs essentially into getting those results. And those results are often not as valuable as they should be, really. Listen, maybe I'm the weird one, right? I feel like that's why there's this problem with us trying to pitch in emails and pitch on DMs. Like, stop doing this and have real.
Oh my God. Do not pitch to me in an email or in a LinkedIn message. I will immediately, 1, either ignore you, 2, block your email address, or 3, give you. But I have a couple of responses that I've written out based on how they pitched or what they sent to me. It's the solution to what they just did to me and why that's a problem. I give them the solution. I'm like, listen, you should try this, and this. All I have to do is just replace the name.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I try to look at it from a different perspective than what people are doing. Like, I don't know if you saw this trend, but there's this trend now where people are putting an emoji in their names so that they could better identify automated messages when they get sent to them. Because if it comes to you, it's got this emoji next to it, that that's a merge field from some system somewhere, and they've sent you that emoji or some amalgamation of like weirdness, because some of them don't transfer over depending on whatever software you use. But identifying an automated message so that not to waste your time on it seems face value like a really great thing, like it's going to save you a lot of time. But I can't tell you how many automated messages I've received and I can spot them too. My name is James, in quotes, SayWhatSales Buckley on LinkedIn. And when the merge field comes, it says, "Hi, James, quotes, SayWhatSales," right? And I just ask, I give them the chance to be honest. Is this an automated message? And most people are really upfront. Yes, it is an automated message. I use this product. And I'll say, "That's awesome. I'm not a big fan of automation. I prefer actual words. Would you like to have a conversation?" And you'd be amazed at how many sales get made because that happens. I don't care if you're using automation. Everybody uses automation. Quit pretending like your business is a $5 million business that doesn't use automation.
You need some forms of automation, but automating the wrong things, as I was saying before, that's the biggest issue. For example, automating human connection and automating human interaction is not going to work, because a machine cannot do what a human does when you're talking about being able to appeal to the emotional or empathic side of another person. It's just not possible. Everybody's so different that there's no way to there's no cookie cutter solution for that. So that outreach.
I actually think that there's a great place for automation if you look at
I agree.
a contact strategy overall. But that's what you have to look at. You can't look at instant results and then build automation for that. You have to build automation for a contact strategy that has multiple touch points, multiple values, multiple action items, multiple questions, multiple calls to action, multiple articles, multiple, hey, this is personalized, but this one isn't. My goal is like, can you tell the difference? If you could tell the difference, I'm not doing a good job.
Right. Exactly. I mean, part of, I don't want to get into myself here at all or my company, but we build artificial intelligence. That artificial intelligence is to tell people, is this a good opportunity to contact this person? Is this the right channel that I'm going after? Are these relationships going to be strong? Am I going to be able to connect with this person? It's the am I, it's the how, it's the what, it's the who, but it's not the do ever. It's not the do. The do should be a person-to-person thing. But all the data in between, why would you ever look at that as I mean, most of the time, salespeople, even if they would do it manually, they still don't. It's just too much. It's too much to look at. How are you supposed to look at a list of 10,000 contacts and then figure out who's who? You can't.
It's true. And it becomes difficult to weed through all that, and too much time passes before it can get done. There is a place for automation. As I said multiple times, I feel like it is necessary, useful, valuable. What it cannot do is build a relationship or trust. That cannot be done through automation. It has to be done right here, face to face, me and you. Let's talk about it. Let's be about it. Share with me what you need. I'll share with you what I have. Let's make a match. And if they do, wunderbar. Like, that's fantastic.
Right. All the better, baby. All the better.
Yeah. Morgan is actually doing a how to be creative with your data to accelerate deals on the 7th. So wait, is that today?
Have a conversation with him about that.
Yeah. So that was today. He just did. You can find it at ondemand.jbarrows.com, but it's there. And he talks about using the data through automation, the things that you have, the tools that are at your disposal to be more creative in your human approach. Like, where is there more relevant conversation today than how we're leaning so hard on things to do it for us? Nobody's going to do it for you, man. You got to go do it. You got to be a human being. Hate that for you.
Yep. I mean, companies are very, very good at compiling the data, storing the data, sorting the data. But when it comes to what to do with the data and what's the pragmatic purpose of it, that's where it fails. That's where it goes out the window. They're just using it wrong. That's all. Simple as that. But figuring out how to use it right is very hard to do. I wouldn't say hard. It's just very complex, complicated.
It's supposed to be. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right. Exactly. And machines are better at doing it than people. That's the thing. And then the person should have the intuitive response behind what it is to act on what was just discovered. Right.
I think that's the creative part that's coming back. I feel like, so let's talk about this year, because that's relevant to what we're talking about now. Look at everything that's changed today. What's happening is that we are naturally being forced, because of all the shifts that have taken place in our marketplace today. We're being forced to actually be more human in our approach. It's happening.
I love it.
It's happening dude, you're watching it happen right now, where people are going, what can we let go of technology-wise that we don't need or we don't use? What shelfware? My former COO at Cirrus Insight, Brandon Bruce, co-founder, COO, Cirrus Insight, still does great consulting work, by the way. Knoxville Technology Council now, built this whole community around, bringing technology to Knoxville. Really amazing. Anyway, when he came out with the shelfware problem, people started waking up to the fact that their tech stacks were so often convoluted by all these things that they were consistently paying for, but never really using. In some cases, 5 and 10-year contracts are being signed for $1 million. But the tech that you're paying for is never actually being leveraged. How does this happen? This is amazing to me that this happens. And I think it happens because we get so wrapped up in what technology can do for us. And salespeople are really good at positioning value. If you think about it like a chess game, positioning your pieces just so to be able to make it so that there ain't nowhere to go, brother. That right there is what salespeople do really well all the time.
I literally say that sales is like a chess game to people every day. That's really all it is. For the technology that we build, we look at it almost as if it's a giant game of chess or Go, if you will. Yeah. And it's just looking at all the potential patterns of success. What's the path of least resistance? Is it too difficult of a win? What's the probability of success? Is this actually worth my time? Is this game winnable? Am I already in checkmate?
That's amazing. And it happens every day. And I think what's happening now, because of many factors that have taken place in 2020 that will remain nameless on this show, I feel like people are looking at the economic crisis that we're in and saying, where can I trim the fat? And it's happening on both fronts. It's happening in people, in the form of people losing their jobs and being furloughed, but it is also happening at the technology level. And we're seeing contracts being canceled. We're seeing renewals not being done. We're seeing enormous contracts being challenged all over the place. I'm just not going to pay this.
But contracts are also not built into the structure of how life is random. It's just a random set of events. There's no reason. For example, my business, we don't actually offer any form of contract. There's no connection to that. It's month to month, everything. If you are delivering value, true value, and it's the same thing with you, James, I know this. If you're delivering true value, the customer will stay. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, does not matter. Longevity is based off of the value received and the quality of the service that has been delivered.
Yeah.
And if people think that contracts are how you make money, sure, investors love that because it's guaranteed revenue. But guess what? Those contracts are being canceled right now, aren't they? But that guaranteed revenue is not what's important. The zeros in your bank account are determined by the quality of services rendered. And that is just a fact.
Well, we're seeing that. So here's what we're noticing in the field is post COVID-19, a lot of focus has been put on customer retention, customer satisfaction, upselling and cross-selling.
It's about time.
Added selling. But and the other thing that's happened, and I think this is remarkable. This conversation is one that I think we need to be having openly, like public forum. I want to like go live and have 1,000 people have their opinions told.
Let's do it. I'll help you.
If you look back at the beginning of 2018, all we were hearing about was how the SDR is going away. Full cycle sales, inbound is the way to go. Marketing and intent data and all these great things were hitting the scene quick as they could. And everybody was saying, oh my God, we just like don't even need this added cost of having SDRs. We'll just filter everything that we're getting from our intent.
One little thing with that though, is that inbound is the way to go. Okay. If you're an enterprise, maybe, and SDRs are too expensive, whatever. But when you're looking at it from the sense of, I have a $20 million a year marketing budget. With that marketing budget, what I'm doing is that I am dumping money into getting this in front of people. It's not about the engagement. It's not about how many clicks you get. It's not about any of that at all. What it is that inbound still involves the success and the ability to succeed of the salespeople. It's not about your marketing demographic of who likes your stuff the most. It's about, is it getting in front of the people that our salespeople can sell to? And if you look at conversion rate, that's raw conversion rate. That is strictly from ads, marketing campaigns, and stuff like that, where they convert on their own, like you're talking about right here. The success rate is 1%. So out of all of the people that this content gets in front of for $20 million a year, only 1% of them, on average, that's a high average, will convert to a sale. How is that more effective?
So I think it's a channel, and I think that it could be probably made much more efficient with a little bit of TLC. And oftentimes the automation piece is, the trigger on that is pulled way too fast. And that's why 1% is the average. And we also rely on funnels that were created by people that don't do sales. So it's like, when you look at those types of top of the funnel to bottom of the funnel as soon as possible with the smallest amount of obstacles, what you have there is somebody that doesn't understand the process of qualification, the process of retaining a customer and building a relationship and rapport and trust with an individual that's about to hand you money. I don't know about you, but like I've felt the difference when I do something simple like buy my groceries. I feel the difference handing that person my credit card, my money, and I can't see their face. Right? For me, I have an emotional attachment to purchases. I don't know if everybody does. Some people buy things out of necessity. Fine, I'll accept that. But I think we make want and desire purchases with our emotions. And that is human to human 100%, because the machine is not going to do that. But we think because we can automate it, we should automate it. That's the quickest way to money. The reality is that it's the quickest way to the one purchase. But for all you know, there's a whole bigger conversation behind that. So 2018, we're talking about this, and all the SDR jobs are in question. Everybody's like, why do I even have an SDR department? I could probably just do without that. I have all this great tools. I can just route everything to my AEs. Let them do it. Right? That's the way that they thought.
It sickens me.
It only sickens you because you're a champion for SDRs, and that is admirable. But here's the reality of it. You can filter as many things as you want to your AEs. If it doesn't yield revenue because it's not qualified, what value was it? Zero. Literally zero. You've actually lost money because you are allowing your AE to spend time with people that have no intention of purchasing your product. They've shown no buying sign. They know nothing about you. They're simply somewhere out there in the ether downloading a white paper or joining a webinar. And you have to have an SDR have a conversation with them so that you can identify the people that understand the value of your product and are coming into a demo understanding what value they're going to get out of it.
Yep.
And if you don't have that matchup made, and an SDR makes that matchup, if you don't have that matchup made, what you're doing is wasting your account executive's time with people that, quote, just want to see the product.
Exactly. And not just that, I want to add to that too, with the expenses that are, just to put a little bit of this into perspective. Okay, so you have your account executive. They're making X amount of dollars per year. Okay, so 1 hour of their time a week, that's 1 out of the 40 hours. You've now taken 1/40th of their hours out of the day. They need to research that person. That's another hour. So you're taking 1/20th of their day. You're taking 1/20th of their week at that point. Once they are setting up the meeting, they're sending emails back and forth. They're getting it all set up, good to go. You now are at about, let's say, 1/10 of their entire week was spent with this person once the demo has been given with no intent to buy. So that is 1/10 of 1 week's pay for an AE of total wasted time when they could have been focusing on someone who will convert when you could have had an SDR talking to them. You're going to cut the cost of that into a third, if not a quarter. So you're wasting 75% of the money on wasted time and wasted effort on saying we don't need SDRs than you would if you had them. 75% of that money in labor, in time, and in process. So why shouldn't there be SDRs? I have no idea. That's the thing, is that I don't think anybody's ever actually looked at this from a grander perspective, the big picture.
So I think the big picture is exactly what's missing from the equation when we start them off to begin with. The big picture is often lost because the small picture is the stepping stone they're currently about to take. So here's the way that I talk about this, and I think this is really real. Hiring managers, people that hire SDRs, have a real problem. Their language is broken. The way that they interview is not conducive to growth in the industry. It's conducive to an immediate need. So the way that sales reps will often come in is they'll say, so I don't want you to be too concerned. This is just a stepping stone to one day you'll be an AE. I don't want you to be worried because this is just a foot in the door. That's exactly how they speak. And why would an SDR come in and give it 100% in that role if you've already put the next role in front of them and said that's where they're headed? That's not the way to approach the hiring process. And that's why SDRs don't put a lot of heart or thought into what they're doing. So it's on us. It's unfortunate, but it's on us, the leaders, to have a culture that shows them from the beginning, you are going to be in this role for 2 years. The reason you're going to be here for 2 years is because it's going to take you a year just to learn how to talk to our customers. I don't find SDRs on the norm to be very profitable in their first year. It's typically the second year where they really start to hit that stride. Things become easier for them. John talks about this, right? Something happens in them where the language starts to click and the prospecting starts to make sense and the buying signals start to register. And before you know it, they're able to have really effective conversations. And a lot of them are happening with people they've spoken with before. And it's because they put the time in to learn how to do this job appropriately. And now in 2020, with everything that's happened, right when it happened, SDRs started getting let go of left and right. If you go online and you look at how many sales development jobs are currently available, you'll be amazed at how valuable it is to be able to call somebody, have a qualification conversation, get some interest, and schedule a qualified meeting. I'll tell you what, go online right now. Let's do it. I'm just going to do it. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts while I look this up and give you some actual numbers.
Sure. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I find that all that pretty interesting is that there are a lot of SDR shopping in the market and they are needed more than ever before. There's a lot of other places that are waste in the system that we call business or B2B, if you will. One of the largest areas of waste is, as you said, wasted technology. And ineffective data use. If you use the data more effectively, you can have more effective SDRs. If you have more effective SDRs and you're looking at your data the right way, that's more profit, that's more sales. If you have more sales, that means more money for the whole company. More money for the whole company means that you can improve your initiative, you can train your people, you can get further. It's all about a growth mindset. Rather than, oh my God, we need to survive, that survival mindset, it's either you're growing or you're dying. Grow or die. That is a fact.
So 100%, dude. I just want to say you're dead on with it. And Brandon Bruce, again, former COO, great, really smart businessman, told me once, the reason companies go out of business, the only reason companies go out of business is that they stop making sales. That's the only reason. If you are a for-profit company and you have gone out of business, the reason you went out of business is because money stopped coming in the door. And new money coming in the door requires new conversation. And that is the purpose of an SDR, a real SDR. A metric hitter is totally different.
Right. That's true. That was very well said, too. Very well said. Yeah. Further into this, I would like to talk about more so of how coaching or sales training is very different from sales process, where a process should not be the training. It should be coaching. And I know that JB Sales is huge on this. I'm huge on this. You're huge on this. We're very passionate about it. And I'd like to talk about more of that, that coaching your sales staff to be able to become stronger in their areas that they are proficient versus trying to strengthen the weaknesses to fit a process is much more effective.
Yeah, so that's the thing, I think. If anything, so I've done over 300 frontline calls in the last few weeks. I'd say in the last 8 weeks. For what it's worth, that data point, there's over 1,740,000 sales development jobs currently posted. All you have to do is Google sales development jobs in the US and you'll get the results back. Wow. That's real. And that's just the results. I'm sure there's plenty to be dug around. It's probably a lot of the same, but that's a lot of results regardless. 1,740,000,000, something like that.
My God.
Yeah, that's a lot of jobs to sift through. So sales development, right? People say, oh, we don't need SDRs. That is clearly not true. So training and coaching. I find that, so I did a poll. I think over 400 people responded, and it was weird because I kind of messed with the language a little bit here. But I did this poll, and the poll was, I said, a manager's job is to hold you accountable for your results, and they are also responsible for training you. Agree or disagree? And I think 83 people agreed that a manager is responsible for training you. I do not agree with that. I think that a manager's job is to hold you accountable and provide training to you. I don't think that they are responsible 100% for the training itself. I think it would be unfair to have both of those jobs forced upon that manager or director. There's not enough hours in a day to hold them accountable for activity, keep them honest about it, and train them at the same time effectively. I feel like anybody could do it, 33.3% across the board for all of three of those all the time. But who wants that? I feel like providing training is the language to use.
I agree. And the way that I see it, a manager manages. It's what they do. They don't train. They're not a trainer. They're a manager. A manager is accountability. It's ensuring that objectives are getting met. It's ensuring that you are able to complete the tasks that were put at hand by the director or another leader. The difference between a manager and a leader is that a leader manages, holds people accountable, all that stuff. A leader is someone who leads, who pushes the vision to make sure that everybody's on track for the same goal, to keep that goal in mind, because as soon as that goal is lost or the vision is lost, everybody's working different ways in order to get to the same result, and they don't have the same idea of what that end goal really is. Keeping that on track, but then also having people that are dedicated to training is more important. If you do that, that might be another paycheck, that might be outsourced somewhere, but in the end, it's going to save you and make you more money.
I feel like in the end, you're going to have an outside opinion that is different from yours, and that is a good thing.
Absolutely.
My opinion remains that there are not a lot of people out there that are willing to admit that the diversity in opinion and the diversity in what's good process versus bad process is what builds good process. You have to try things, and you have to allow people to have a platform to say, here's how I imagine it. I want to try it this way, and let's track and measure the results to really be effective with what we're doing. If we're trying something and the margins aren't great, it's on me to be able to say, I didn't look at it like that. Let's shift the perspective and try it a different way and see if we can make it more profitable, more successful. But if we're not able to have that conversation at the leadership / employer-employee level, there is no growth happening there ever. That's never happened.
You need to fail to succeed, because failures are how you succeed. If you're doing the same thing, same shit, different day, every single time, where, oh, this works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is not a growth mindset. You're not going to go anywhere. As soon as that doesn't work anymore, which it will stop working, you don't even know what to do at that point, because you're so used to doing the same thing over and over again. It's like the sky's falling. And that's that, being open to change, being open to listening to your employees. And please listen to your employees. If you're a leader, my God, they're the ones on the front lines. You're sitting there on the high horse and you're saying, oh, no, this is how it's done, when you haven't been actually experiencing what they're experiencing. There's no way that it's unwarranted to be able to tell them this is how it's done when you haven't been on the front lines. So see what they have to say and be open to making changes based off of what they say. And what I really, really loathe is when people are afraid to talk to their boss about issues that they're having. If they cannot talk to their boss, how are you supposed to know anything that's going on in your company? And that is a top-down issue.
I agree. I don't know that I think so. So there's this breakdown that I think is important to have. Here's what happened to me. I was one of the guys. I was a SDR, and I was on an SDR team. So we're all going to lunches together. We're all having meals. We're all like hanging out at each other's houses. Like, it's cool. And then suddenly I become the SDR manager, the BDR manager. And now we're not able to do that. And my leadership is telling me, you kind of need to put a little bit of a dividing line there. It's going to be smart for you. So you think to yourself, like, okay, this is what growth looks like, right? But where does my loyalty lie? Does it lie to these individuals that I've spent the last 2 years with, trying to grow together and learn from them as they learn from me? And now I have to put distance between them? Or do I not have a problem with that and say, I accept this leadership role and I'm going to distance myself from these individuals I've built really strong relationships and bonds with? Well, I didn't want to make that choice. And it turned out I didn't have to, because most of the people that were on my team ended up getting promoted or moving into a different department. And I inherited the ability to build my own team, which was kind of nice. Right? So that worked out well, but it doesn't always work that way for people. But we have to be able to have these conversations. I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. I can't believe this happened to me, but you can't make this up. When I got handed the business development role, there was a guy on the team that I assumed thought he would have been the better choice. When I pulled him in for our first one-on-one, he handed me a Leadership for Beginners book. And he was like, thought you could use this. Now, yeah, you laugh because I laughed.
Pretty much, he just drew, a middle finger on a piece of paper, handed it to you, and said, "Hey, fuck you."
Yeah. Well, I could have been. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, this is kind of insulting. But I took the book and I brought it home, and I still have it. I don't think I ever read it, but I do have it. But it was an interesting kind of like cultural shift for me in the dynamic of our team in that moment, because I knew that I could never manage this person. Right. And I also had experiences in the past where when you go to your leadership about problems like this, what you get labeled as is toxic. And the moment leadership labels you as toxic, you might as well start looking for another job.
Yeah, but I've got a secret about that. Guess what? It's the leadership that's toxic.
In some cases. In other cases, I find that employees really are sometimes wired a little negatively. I think it's on everyone individually to be able to have intelligent, mindful conversations about this at their companies and with their colleagues and coworkers. That's so important for growth. It's so underestimated in our space. I could probably talk about it forever.
Yeah. It's often almost all of the entire time, unless someone is actually toxic, it's the leadership is the problem. It is from the top down, always from the top down. If you have good mindset, positive mindset, you're passing that down to your directors, and then you're passing that down to your managers, and they're passing that down to their employees. There's positivity up top, so there's going to be positivity flowing throughout the entire company. Think of it as the heart pumping all of the blood to the rest of the veins, to the rest of your arms, your legs, your toes, your brain. And without that positivity, without that strong heartbeat, that's when things start to die. You start to lose limbs.
I believe I was at Cirrus for as long as I was because Brandon was such a positive leader for me. He encouraged me to build my brand and encouraged me to keep doing what I was doing, even though his marketing team was like, he needs to stop doing that and not represent us online. But everybody knew me, and he knew that about what was happening. And I was at all these shows, and he was sending me all over the globe to do them. So it made sense that he would be investing in my personal brand the way that he did. And, you know, to this day, I still thank people like John, people like him, people like Morgan for encouraging me to keep doing what I'm doing, because that's what real leadership looks like. Enable your people to be successful, not only professionally, but personally as well. And you'll find that their loyalty knows no limits, and they're always willing to support your growth. And isn't that what we're trying to do here?
If you enjoyed this episode, follow Down the Rabbit Hole podcast for new episodes weekly on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, and YouTube. If you'd like to apply to be featured on the podcast or recommend a featured guest, please feel free to email us at theteam@whiterabbitintel.com.